Peoples of the universe, the warriors of Sontar offer you hope.
I am the head of human resistance against Sontaran occupation. And now we will ensure that the Flux takes apart your entire universe.
We have everything we need.
You try and kill me right now.
You have no escape.
Good evening, morning, afternoon, or whatever time of the day it is where you are. I was trying to think of more times of the day than dusk, dawn. I don't know. There's more of them, I'm sure. But welcome once again to our Geek Syndicate reviews of Doctor Who Flux. This is Chapter 6 of Flux, the finale, titled What the Flux? The Vanquishers. So I'm here as ever with my chuckling companion, Mr.
I can't believe neither of us have thought of that before.
So, Space Bungle in What the Flux?
Flux.
so I'm Ant, and I'm here as ever with Barry. How you doing, Chief?
I'm doing good. I'm now thinking of Space Bungle and Professor Jericho in What the Flux.
Yeah, we'll get onto that in a bit because we can't do that anymore.
No, we can't. Right, we'll get into that.
Yeah, let's get into that later. Right, let's just do the old blurb and we'll get into it.
Yep.
So, in the final epic chapter in the story of the Flux, all hope is lost. The forces of darkness are in control, but when the monsters have won, who can you count upon to save the universe? And then the answer obviously is Space Bungle and Professor Jericho.
Space Bungle making his way, killing them Daleks. Space Bungle kicking ass and taking on Sontarans. Space Bungle. What the Flux? Come to BBC in 2022.
Yeah, I can actually see like a K9 and Company kind of title sequence for that as well.
Space Bungle Adventures in the Fourth Dimension.
Yeah.
I mean, it just writes itself.
It does, yeah. But I'll tell you what didn't write itself. Was episode 6 of The Flux.
So go on.
So I was just going to say, yeah, again, purely written by Chris Chibnall.
Yep.
I say written. I'm using that term loosely at the moment for this one.
Okay. It'll be a hot potato.
So yeah, I mean, let's. I kind of feel that gives away some of my thoughts, but yeah. What about you? What your overall?
Do you want to go first? Because I feel like you want
to mix it up a bit. Because
I've done the previous 5.
That's true.
So I feel like you've got stuff to say. So if you want to give some your overall thoughts, and then I'll give some my overall. Just an overall, like, one sentence. What did you think? And then I'll do that, and then we can get into it. What we liked, what we didn't like.
So I mean, my like elevator pitch for this is What the Flux for this episode. It's like it's like there were bits of it I really liked. There were things I really liked, but overall, I was kind of just like, I don't know. There was too much going on. There was too much to wrap up, I think, and I felt there were massive holes that came out of it and things that were just at the end just like swept away under the rug and don't seem to have been thought about. So that's kind of like my overview, I suppose.
Okay, so my overview is I've got to preface this with one. I watched it live, which is the first episode I actually watched live, and then after I watched it, I felt I needed to watch it again just to kind of confirm my kind of my views.
Just to confirm what the Flux happened, yeah.
Yeah, and I think second time it came off better in my views than my first watch of it.
Okay.
And I think I don't know if it's that kind of me. I think someone said this online actually. It might have even been Faint Dreams might have said it. That sometimes if you're a writer, you watch things with a writer. Sometimes it's hard to switch off that writer's brain. So when you're watching something, you're kind of almost dissecting it, looking at the characters, and you say, "Oh, that's quite good what they've done there," and I like that plot, the way they put the plot together, and blah blah. And sometimes it's difficult to switch that off and just let the show flow over you and just enjoy the show as is,
Yes.
you know.
Yeah.
And I think the first time I watched it, I think I was full on writer's brain, because I was going into that with, or I was already going into it with how are they going to wrap all this up in an hour.
Yeah.
And the second time, I think I was able to go into it much more as a viewer. However, even with those two perspectives, I'm kind of on the same page as you. There were bits of it that I really enjoyed. But overall, and yeah, did they round it up? Yeah. But there was just to me, it felt like when I've written the first draft of a story and I get to the end of it and it ends quite complicated and I just want to get the first draft done. So I almost sort of go, and stuff happens and they save the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then because in the back of my mind, I'm like, I'll tidy that up in the second draft, second, third, fourth, whatever draft. And it sounds like I'm really dissing the show, but it had that kind of feeling where I just felt that, because I'd really enjoyed the series, and I just felt that this last episode didn't deliver.
No, it didn't. It didn't do justice to what had come before.
No, and to me, the level of epicness that you were, the scale that you were building, and that you'd built in that first episode, didn't pay off in the end for me. And there was some stuff that happened. I'm like, are we not going to talk about that?
Yeah.
I've seen some stuff online, and obviously it's wildly split.
Yeah, it's very, very divisive.
It's very split. But I still think overall, this is the best Doctor Who season that Jodie's done with this Doctor.
Yeah,
overall is what I'm thinking.
Yeah. I'd agree. I've honestly, so other than my feelings for this final episode, like you say, the 6 episodes as a whole, the thing as a whole, and I do, as I keep saying, I want to watch it all back to back. And I think similar to you, actually, I kind of went into this and I had review head on because I knew I probably wasn't going to get time to watch it again. So I was in that kind of like more critical frame of mind for it. I normally try and watch them twice, once to enjoy it and then once to analyze it, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I didn't get a chance to do that with this because I didn't watch it live as it happened because we had a meeting about LFCC management for next year.
Okay.
But yeah, it didn't do justice to what has come before, because as we said last week, like, you know, I still, and I feel even more now. Oh, pardon me. I still feel that this was originally conceived as like a 10, 12, 13 part thing.
Yeah. I 100% agreed that. To me, this, if they'd been able to get a few more episodes out, they would have, it could have nailed it.
Yeah, there wouldn't have been so much to do this week, and I feel like, although, as you say, things were kind of resolved-ish, it's kind of like nothing felt. It was like, yeah, okay, you've got a little knot, but you've got like 75 pieces of thread still dangling off it in pieces, sort of thing. Like, you know, they're kind of like, you know, it was kind of like it seemed like it was trying to have a resolution, but without actually, as you say, thinking about any of the things that actually happened in the episode, or even the entire series, to be fair.
I think also as well, I mean, we'll get into specifics of it, but also you had so many characters that they were juggling, and because I think there's one sequence where there's a shot where you've got the Doctor. I think it might even be just after she gets reconfigured, shall we say, out of the different sort of versions of herself. And I just saw the amount of people stand behind her, and it's when you suddenly realise like the amount of characters that they're juggling, and they were trying to give everyone a payoff. They're trying to give all those characters a payoff and all those characters something to do. And what happened is, I think that some characters had some great story arcs that just didn't go anywhere in the end. And you could almost, I mean, I've seen some stuff online, I kind of agree, there's certain characters you could literally lift them out of that episode. And
yeah, Di had no purpose to be there. I know she came up with that plan in the end, but frankly, the Doctor should have been able to come up with that plan.
Well, I mean, we're kind of getting into the specifics of it, but you look at like Di's character, and it just felt that I didn't understand why they would kidnap her.
No,
Because remember we said way back at the beginning, it was kind of, obviously Dan's going to do something important because maybe that's why they've taken her, because he's going to be significant or whatever. But again, if Dan hadn't been in that, it wouldn't have made no difference. So there was no point.
No.
There was, because to me the whole reason for taking someone hostage is to prevent someone from doing something, or you want something from them. But at no point did they try to extort Dan or stop Dan from doing anything.
No, and on top of that, it's like, they they kind of like used up every single person that they'd captured in that passenger in order to break through and get into the division base and stuff. Apart from her, because she was irrelevant to them. So you're saying that she was the only one in there who was irrelevant, and they went out of their way to kidnap her in the first place.
Yeah.
And then she suddenly figures out a hell of a lot about how it's
when,
put together.
When Vinda goes in there, I mean, again, I was looking back at it second time around and thinking, what did he actually bring to that scene that she couldn't have done herself? Because pretty much she did it all herself.
Yeah.
And he
brought the gun.
He bought the, and that was all I came up with, was that he bought the gun.
Yeah.
But I still think she could have probably figured that out. So I was kind of a bit, oh no. And when they actually got out, he had the communicator so he could contact the Doctor.
But that's another thing that confused me. So I might have blinked and missed something.
Mm-hmm.
But they got out of the passenger, right?
Yeah.
He contacts the Doctor.
Yeah.
But then when the Doctor picks him up, they're back inside passenger.
Yes, because I caught it on the second time around, because when they got out and he contacted the Doctor, the passenger then pulled them back in.
Right. Okay. I must have blinked and missed that.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he pulled them back in, and then she went in because she had the signal now.
She had the lock at that point.
Yeah, so she tracked them in.
Okay, that's fine then.
But there was no idea of how long she'd been in there for. Had she met anyone else? And it felt like if you'd had more episodes, you could have almost explored that side of it, and you could have almost had a moment where she has met people in there and stuff, and then she's had to watch them effectively get taken away to be killed.
Yeah.
But she made some, all these massive leaps of logic and saying stuff and blah blah blah, and then at the end when she sort of says, "Oh, but it's all matter in the passenger. Couldn't you just use that?" And I was kind of like,
"There's a limitless amount of matter in there."
I'm like, I don't mean to be funny, but like, how are you working all this out?
Yeah, that's literally what I thought.
I would have said that for any of the characters in that situation. I would have said it for Yaz. Do you know what I mean? I was just kind of like, because that's proper science stuff going on. I mean, we'll get onto that as well. But like, I was just like, how are you figuring all that out? And then saying it to Doctor almost going like, "Oh, I hadn't even thought of that." I'm like, really?
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of that, it's like that whole bit where the revelation was that the Flux was antimatter, and it's like, not being funny, but when the Doctor worked for UNIT, she went to an entire universe of antimatter. I'm pretty sure she knows what antimatter is and looks like and how to handle it.
But also as well, like the concept of how it's made of antimatter and it's being funneled into our universe and that's what's destroying everything. Okay. And the thing that can stop it is you put enough matter in its way that will slow it down.
To cancel it out.
Okay. Yeah. And again, I'm not no scientist, so I could be completely wrong. But in the first episode, it was like wiping out planets and stuff. Aren't planets matter?
Yeah. Yeah, and not only that, right? But you have the bit where the Sontaran's plan is basically to sacrifice the Dalek and Cyber fleets, which was going to be enough to cancel it out, according to them. But then it wipes out both those fleets and the Sontaran's fleet, which will get onto the Doctor's decision to commit triple genocide later.
Yeah. And I just, even when I was watching it, I thought, because sometimes these things don't come to me till afterwards, do you know what I mean? But even when I was watching it, I was kind of thinking when they said, "Oh yeah, they're going to put all these ships in front," because that would be matter and that will slow it down. I'm like, but why didn't it slow down then when it was destroying all the planets?
Yeah.
wouldn't it have just stopped then and fizzled out because they would have cancelled each other out eventually?
And also, not being funny, but if it was antimatter and antimatter and matter destroy on impact, that's the whole point. They cancel each other out, they cause an explosion. There wouldn't have been anything left of those planets either. So this whole just ravaging the surface and stuff is just like that.
Just made no sense.
Yeah.
I would have rather you just gone like, so what's the flux made out of? Magic. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'd rather you just gone. It's science. It's science beyond our imagining. And, but maybe if we can funnel it all into the passenger, it might just hold it all. Just something like, I don't know. But the minute you start throwing in like trying to make it a bit more science that people know, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, I'm pretty sure certainly anyone with like even a casual awareness of sci-fi knows a little bit about antimatter.
And I get it, right? It's a science fiction fantasy show. Do you know what I mean? I get it. So I'm more than happy to go with stuff, and I'm not even that bothered by it. But when it just jump out quite
so blatantly,
you kind of have to sort of just pause to go, what? Even if you then sort of just carry on with it, which is what I did. But even at the time, I was going, what? But to be fair, I think by the time we went, what? Something bigger happened where I just went, what, the flux? And that to me was, now, going back, I remember it was a David Tennant one, like a finale with Davros.
Yeah, Journey's End,
Yeah, and you had the two doctors.
Yeah.
And one of the doctors had basically destroyed get my fleets confused. What, the fleet? And he destroyed the Dalek army, didn't he?
Yeah.
And the other doctor just, basically disowned him and said to Rose, look, you got to take him because I don't want nothing to do with him because he was born out of war and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And Davros named him the Destroyer of Worlds and stuff like that. So this concept of the Doctor's got this part of where like you don't want to like push that button, do you know what I mean? Because she will go there. I don't really have a problem with it because I kind of like that concept of, and it's the whole thing of like Pompeii and when Donna was there and was just doing that whole kind of just save someone speech. I like when we see that Doctor because then you get to see why the Doctor needs a companion.
Yeah, needs someone to rein him in. It's like a lot of Sylvester McCoy's run was actually about him, like going around finishing stuff off. So he like wiped out Daleks, wiped out Cybermen, because he took it on, sort of thing. Yeah.
Now I'm going to sort of slightly see. Now people can sort of go, because I know sometimes when people argue with Doctor Who, they sort of go, oh yeah, but that old Who, that's years and years ago. Well, this is new Who, it's a different thing. It's been repeated, but okay. But in the new Who, since Christopher Eccleston's time, that has been established. That whole concept of the Doctor can go too far if he's on his own, and he needs to have that human companion to rein him in. That's been established in this iteration of Who. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we then get this sequence where I'm like, I just had to take a step back and go, so did she just wipe out 3 races then?
Yep. Yeah. After basically, let's face it, after episode 2, where the general dude wiped out a small fleet of Sontarans and she got all pissy with him. But then also after she'd found out that the Sontarans had wiped out the Lupari.
Yeah.
I got all shirty with them, but it was kind of almost like, an eye for an eye then. But as you say, wiped out not just the Sontaran fleet, which was certainly, it was implied that every surviving Sontaran, every surviving Cyberman, and every surviving Dalek was in there. And all 3 got wiped out.
Yeah, because you had that brilliant, it was a wicked sequence where it was the Flux was just wiping out all the ships. And fair play to Sontarans, it was a cracking plan.
Yeah, it just didn't work.
And when, like, sort of Kate Stewart was saying to the Doctor, so we're going to go and warn the Daleks and the Cybermen, And she sort of goes, "Oh no, my plan is even riskier than that." I was like, "Well, no, well your plan is basically mass genocide."
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I didn't.
Plan A in your head is triple genocide.
Yeah, and it sounds silly, but I didn't have a problem with her doing it. But what I had the problem with was that no one called her on it.
Yeah.
No one was there to sort of go, this isn't what you do. You shouldn't be doing this. Blah 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 blah. And almost for her to go a bit dark and sort of go, "I've got no choice. This is what I've got to do. This is who I am. You don't know who I." Do you know what I mean? I must give that dark doctor speech that every so often comes up, and then do it, and then there's consequences that she's got to deal with. That she's now done this thing,
Yeah.
But there was none of that.
No. I mean, to be fair, you would expect like Yaz obviously to call her out. Professor Jericho, frankly, I would have expected to call her out on it. Maybe not.
But to be fair, he couldn't because he was dead, would he?
Well, no, not that point, because he died when the Flux wiped out the Sontaran, so he was there for the plan.
Yeah,
he was part of the plan.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which again, what a waste of a character.
This is my thing as well. Is like I said, everything was just so rushed.
Yeah.
You had created a great character in Professor Jericho. Like he was a great character.
He was, yeah.
And again, I didn't have a problem necessarily with you making the decision to, kill him off. But there was the lead up to it. There was no reason for it. One, we need to send in 2 psychics undercover. Why?
Yeah.
Why does there need to be 2 of you? Especially when one of you has no psychic ability whatsoever.
Yeah.
So I'm fairly confident when they hooked you up to the machine, they'll be like, "Hang on a minute, this ain't working for this dude."
Yeah.
And they even get to a point where they sort of go, "Well, he's useless," turn it up on her. But there was no reason for him to go onto that ship. The only reason for him to go into that ship was to die. And even if you were going to do that, and I watched the scene, I watched it again the second time around, and when there's a bit where the doctor sort of contacts them and is like, "Right, get out of there," and I'm like, "But weren't they fitted into the machines?" Because then all of a sudden they're just out and they're running about. I'm like, "Well, how did you get out of the machines?" And
it's true, because they were properly strapped in, weren't they?
Yeah.
And then they weren't.
And then they weren't. They just weren't. And then he does some carry on doctor moment, and he kind of fumbles the ring, and it drops, and he just says to her, "Go."
Yeah.
And she then just goes, and then he picks up the gun and shoots, but it doesn't.
And he somehow manages to shoot the ring.
Yeah, but there's no. I think they shoot the ring. I think it's this. I think I saw that second time around. I think it's actually Sontaran shoots the ring. He shoots the mechanism that closes the door. But my thing is that once again, the way it was done, there's no
logic.
There's no sacrifice to it, because she'd already gone. Do you get what I mean? It would have been different if, like, I don't know, like if the same thing had happened and the ring had got basically
one of the rings was gone before.
One of the rings was gone. They both got out. One of the rings had gone. He's fired to shut the door. It's the 2 of them still there, and he says to her, "Take my ring."
Yeah.
You go, I'll cover you, type thing.
Yeah.
Then, because that scene where he sort of says, "Oh, Professor Jericho, Eustachius Jericho," whatever he says, "Scourge of Scoundrels," I was like, that whole sequence I really loved, and the whole it's been an awfully big adventure. I loved all of that, but the death there was no meaning to his death. No. To my mind, he was just on the ship.
Yeah.
And because they didn't have the time to focus on it, you get one sequence of her saying, "I should have stayed with him," and then everyone basically congratulating her. And you get one shot of Yaz looking upset, because I think she says Jericho, and looking upset. This was a dude they were traveling with for like 3 years?
3 years, yeah.
And you just didn't. Again, if you'd got more time, maybe there could have been a little memorial grave somewhere that her and Dan are just standing there, like, to say goodbye to him, or do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think so much of my issues with this episode was the fact it was an episode.
Yeah, I completely agree. This really did feel like it needed to be at least 2.
Yeah.
To properly do justice to stuff. I mean, the other things. I mean, the forced humor coming in again at times, like the corner shop scene, right? I just can't. I know they like to portray the Sontarans as these bumbling idiots kind of thing. But you made a whole thing pointing out in episode 2 that they don't eat and that they get energy through their probic vents at the back of their neck. So why are they suddenly addicted to bastard chocolate? Or, in fact, I think it was just sugar because they were throwing blooming energy drinks in at one point, weren't they? It's just like, and then that's enough to make him betray his own race as well. Oh, look, you give me a pack of Jammy Dodgers, great.
To be fair, if you gave me a pack of Jaffa Cakes, there's pretty much nothing going on. So that in itself felt quite a realistic scene to me.
I just couldn't.
I hear you.
But then you contrast that though with that moment where they're telling Space Bungle that they've wiped out his entire race, and it's like that's a Sontaran.
That was quite chilling. And then when like he's walking away, and like Bungle's like, "I'm gonna kill all of you," and he's like, "I look forward to the combat." I was like, I was a bit gutted because I was waiting for some kind of big face off between the two of them. I mean, he did kind of get his own back on them, but it just, it was a bit of a game of two halves because there were some like the sequence with the Doctor facing off against the Grand Serpent. I thought was really good.
Yeah, when he was torturing her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she was just figuring out who he was, and I thought that was a really good scene.
Yes, absolutely.
But again, like when you get to the sequence where like it's him, Vinda, and Kate, and Vinda's like, don't you know me? And he was like, I don't know who you are, type thing. And I know what they were trying to say. I think what they were trying to say was like Vinda was so insignificant to him.
Yeah, it's like that whole for me it was Tuesday sort of thing.
Yeah, but you didn't have the time to sell it enough for me.
No, absolutely, because we'd only had that kind of like those few cutscenes almost with him in, was it episode 3?
Yeah,
where we saw that. So you didn't really get that impression of time serving. So it seemed almost like he was just there with him for like a day before he was sacked, basically.
Because I thought the last words that he said to him were pretty chilling when he sort of said, I'm a man who understands something like the pain of isolation or being, whatever.
Yeah.
And they left him on the rock. But it just didn't. And I don't know if it was a CG, was a little ropey, but he kind of just walks out and then he sort of turns around and then he obviously. I think the problem was it switched back to the tunnels and you basically got Vinda firing and it closes like a little wooden bolt over like the door, and I'm like, well, you could just kick that open. I know he couldn't because I know it's a metaphorical thing, but it just
to be fair though, it did show because it cut back to him and you saw the door disappear.
Yes, true. Yeah.
But still, I mean, again, if we're going to go to like science kind of things because they raised the subject of antimatter, how the hell was there breathable air on that tiny little rock?
I just went with it. I didn't question it, but I just felt that he kind of and maybe that was his character. I don't know, but he kind of gets marooned and he's almost like, oh, there was he wasn't raging against it. It didn't even really feel like it didn't really feel like a punishment, even though it was. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. But again, that's because of how quick it was. It was just like boom, boom, bang on to the next thing.
And I kind of felt like his face off with Kate set him up to be. You kind of understood why he would be yes and no. You understand why he'd be bothered about Kate, and he was kind of a bit obsessed with finding her. But again, because you didn't have the time for it, when Kate turns up and she's like, "Oh, I'm the leader of the human resistance," I'm kind of like, how?
Yeah.
When? What?
When did that happen?
When did that happen? The last minute you were on the run and you're still in the same clothes. I'm like, well, you know, how much time has passed. Do you know what I mean? It was.
Yeah.
It was,
Again, that could have been like they're talking about the compressing. If they could have had an episode where that was almost the B plot in it, was you kept cutting back to Kate actually like that kind of and again we keep coming back to like David Tennant stuff and David Tennant finales and things, but you had that whole the year where Martha was off telling stories about the Doctor, and you kind of got that build up of it.
Yeah.
And it's like, because this episode really did remind me of it was kind of like, to me, it was like Chris Chibnall trying to do Journey's End, the one with Davros that you were talking about earlier, because you've got basically a reality destroying thing happening. You've got the multiple Doctors going on. You've got shed loads of characters as companions. The difference being back then we had companions we knew, or people we knew if we'd watched spin-offs and things.
Yeah.
So you didn't need to spend too long bigging them up and stuff. So, but this almost felt like that, and again, it was that kind of like, so in that they hit the big reset button, everything went back to normal. But at the end of this, it was just like, what, half the universe is gone now?
See, that's the other thing I didn't. And depending on where you look online, some people are saying, yeah, no, there's a bit where it gets sorted. I'm like, is there? Because I didn't. If there was, I missed it.
Yeah.
And people that are listening to this, if there was and I missed it, then please email in and let me know so I can go back and watch that bit, because I didn't see it. So I was thinking at the end, and I was kind of like, so it ended with like you're back in Liverpool and Dan's pulling the same trick that he pulled at the beginning. So I'm like, so everything's back to you. You've literally been enslaved by an alien race, and we're back doing tours in the museum in Liverpool. I'm just, yeah, everyone's cool. I'm like, whereas if they'd rewritten time and they'd made it clear time had been rewritten, everything's gone back to normal, then I'm like, okay, that's all good.
Yeah.
But I didn't get a sense of that.
Yeah, no, I didn't. So I'm on like the TARDIS wiki page at the moment because again, wasn't really sure what was going on, but even in that, it doesn't say that. It just says that it was put in passenger and the endless prison proved enough to end it.
Yeah,
that's all they've got on it.
Yeah,
so there's nothing about. Yeah, there's nothing. I didn't notice anything in the story. Again, I might have blinked and missed it, like the other thing, or I didn't get any sense that the universe had been restored. It was like, no, yeah, we've literally wiped out one whole half of the universe. And that was the other thing. So it's kind of like, it was ending the universe. Earth was supposed to be like this critical event that was like, once Earth has gone, the whole universe is gone. So to me, that means actually the flux has been coming in from all directions and there's only Earth left.
Well,
because otherwise, why would that be a thing? Because if mass can stop it, it's not like you've gone, oh, the antimatter's now at critical mass, because you're saying the more it eats, the less powerful it gets. You know what I mean? It's kind of again, just the whole concept of it just seemed something was a bit off with it to me.
I thought if what you're saying is that everything's gone back to normal, then you needed to show me that and show me how that's happened. And if it hasn't, then you also needed to show me that.
Yeah.
And it just felt we got to the end of it and everything was kind of happy days, and Space Bungle had a new gang and he was going off for adventures, even though his race has been wiped out. His entire race is gone, and he's cracking jokes about, I'm going to kick them off my ship. Your race has been wiped out more than like an hour ago.
Yeah.
And again, we only got one shot of him kind of sitting on his own, and we're like, what happened to him? He's like, oh yeah, his race has been wiped out. Ooh. Yeah.
And he had that ridiculous howl.
Yeah, and he did the howl. Yeah, and I'm just, oh.
To be fair, up until that moment, I thought, because he did, I don't know how, to be fair, what's the name of the actor who plays him? Because he needs a shout out, to be fair.
I mean, Space Bungle nailed it in this situation.
Yeah, Craig Ells deserves a shout out, because I massively got a sense every emotion he was going through that bungle mask.
Yeah, the scene where it's him and the Doctor, and he's kind of saying, I literally can't tell you anything because they've got this thing in my head and I'll die and whatever. and he sort of said, you know, and he's kind of saying there isn't anything I wouldn't have done for you, you know, and you
just left me. Yeah.
Like you said, he's someone in like a mask and stuff, but you at that moment I didn't see that.
No, every emotion was there. It was amazing work, frankly.
He was probably my standout of the show, really. Closely followed by, there was a wicked villain scene before I get onto like my real disappointment, I think, with Azure and the Doctor.
Right, yeah.
And she's just basically pulling a con where she's kind of like, we're just going to destroy it over and over again.
Yeah.
And we're just going to leave it there locked, and you've got to see it all because your thing is you want to save everyone. I just thought that was wicked. I thought that sequence was wicked, and I thought these are like proper villains. I'm loving these villains, and like I don't know how she's gonna be able to deal with them. Oh, okay. Literally, they pulled the Darth Vader, and they just rocked up, and there's another villain who's worse than they are, and it's kind of like, yeah, because you messed up, I'm just gonna take you out of the equation. So effectively, they became Bond henchmen.
Yeah.
In with a flip of a coin, and that to me again just felt like you just didn't have the time to deal with them properly.
Yeah, I mean, because I was going to talk about that because I've got this I've got a little section in my notes that says odd motivations.
Yeah.
And it's not quite the right heading for it, but it's basically the Doctor. I really must have my memories back. That was the entire premise of this series.
Oh.
Also, the Doctor. Oh, I don't want them back.
So let's get on to that. That for me, like I said, I think overall, I enjoyed. Yeah, the episode was alright. I enjoyed it. I didn't come out of it like, oh god, I hated that. I'm not going to get that time back. You know, even though there's a lot wrong with it for me, I still enjoyed it overall.
Mm-hmm.
And I enjoyed it, and I really enjoyed the series because I'm a big believer in that. It's not the destination, it's the journey. You know, and the journey was great. So, however, the whole point of her journey, even set up before this, was the fact that she was searching for answers to who the division is and why they're taking the memories and what memories had they taken. And that was the whole reason why the division were destroying the universe, because the Doctor was coming after them because she wanted their memories.
Yeah.
And then she gets her memories and then just is almost like, nah, I don't want them now.
Yeah.
And
it's kind of like, you know, if again, that whole thing of like consequences and payoff and stuff, if there'd have been some kind of moment or, you know, a scene where she comes to that revelation of it doesn't matter who she was, it's who she is.
Yeah.
That counts. But you didn't get that.
No.
You know, you just got this whole kind of like, oh, hello, TARDIS, just put this somewhere where I can't find it. Oh, unless I really ask you nicely.
And I think that's the problem as well, is you're trying to cover your bases.
Yeah.
Right. So that bit at the end where she sort of says, you know, hide it somewhere where I can never find it. If she just dropped it there, I'd still be annoyed, but I'm like, okay. And then, you know, skip to her last special, which is going to be next autumn. And, you know, something so bad happens and she's kind of like, I need my full memories to be able to deal with this. And then she goes back into the TARDIS, and then you sort of go, oh yeah, the watch, you know. But it just feels to me like, again, there was no real weight to it. It was like, you know, take this away from me unless I ask for it back, and then just give it to me. It's like someone being an alcoholic and saying, here, take this bottle of whiskey. I'm never going to drink. You know, I will never touch this. Or never let me touch this unless I ask for it.
Let's ask nicely.
You know, it just it made, and narratively, it made no sense to me why you would go to all that trouble to get, and you've got the memories in your hand and you just discard them unless you gave me a good reason why. So here's my take on it. Would have been one, like you said, to have shown her in some shape or form, showing the audience that, like you said, memories don't make you, you know, that doesn't make her who she is and blah blah blah. Or she's scared that if she opens it, much like we had in Family of Blood, that effectively she opens it and it kind of erases who she is.
Yeah.
in favor of the memories could override her or blah blah blah, and she chooses not to. So maybe she's driven by fear. But that you didn't show me that.
No.
I don't care anyone says you didn't show me that. Or she gets her memories back, and then she wipes out the fleet.
Because she's suddenly acting more like the Ruthless Doctor.
Exactly. And then it's almost like her kind of having a bit of a, and I don't know how you do, you'd have to do some kind of magical timey-wimey stuff, but almost she has a,
that revelation where she takes the memories out of herself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Where it's almost like she's kind of like, I can't be this person. This isn't who I am.
Yeah.
It
might be who I was, but it's not who I've become.
My thing was as well is like, you went to this, you had the whole thing of like, you wiped out one of the doctors, one of your regenerations, you wiped out of your memory or put into the back of your memory because he was the one who ended the Time War.
Yeah.
By supposedly anyway at the time, killing the Time Lords and the Daleks.
Yeah.
He wiped out 2 races. You're like, right, you're not the Doctor. You get to the back of the bus.
Yeah.
And now she's wiped out 3 races, and they're wiped out. There ain't no like, there's not no, oh no, they're locked in time. Nope, they're gone.
Well, they're wiped out till New Year.
Yeah, obviously, yeah. But like, there's no consequence there. So I spent a lot of it. Every moment I enjoyed, there was another moment I was a bit confused, or I was kind of like, oh, there was no real payoff there. And even the Diane character at the end, where Dan's kind of like, oh, do you want to go and get you want to go and get some dinner? And she's like, you were late. I basically don't want to go out with you or whatever. I was just a bit confused as to like, so what? Because he was late, which he wasn't. He got kidnapped or whatever, and obviously you got kidnapped.
Yeah, it was in neither of yours control, basically.
Yeah, it was in neither of yours control. So now you kind of want nothing to do with him. I was just a bit, what? And it almost felt like that was set up just so that you could then have the scene of him walking sadly for the Doctor to then invite him along.
Invite him back on, yeah.
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 Whereas
sorry, go on.
I was just going to say, it almost would have been, like, not cooler, because it would have been a bit mean, but almost for her to have sort of gone, yeah, that'd be great, and then he's kind of walking to meet her, and then the Doctor and Yaz are there with the TARDIS, and her sort of going, do you want to, like, do you know what I mean? Do you want to come with us type thing? And him basically letting her down again to go off with the Doctor.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the only other thing really I wanted to talk about was, I guess we alluded to earlier, like the actual big bad and Swarm and Azure and that kind of side of things, and how that all panned out. Which, again, this is under my odd motivations thing, where it's like, time, yeah, we got to kill the Doctor, and you need to release me, and you failed to do that, so you DEED dead. Wipes them out, right? And then 2 minutes later, yeah, I'm gonna let you go, Doctor, but here's a cryptic warning.
I didn't, and I think I will at some stage, maybe not straight away, but I will watch them all again, because I didn't, the whole time as a villain thing, I was just confused. It just, it honestly, it confused me. And maybe I'm just old, I don't know. And maybe if I was like 12 years old, I'd just get it. But it just confused me.
Yeah.
Because I kind of felt like these were the villains that you set me up with. I think I need to go back and watch the episode where it's the kind of flashback with the Ruthless Doctor and stuff like that, because I feel that's where it's set up. You kill off your hench people, who just seem to be the most powerful people. They just seem to develop powers as they go along, really.
Yeah. Although I've got the whole bloody, sorry, just to call back to it, like the cliffhanger bit from last week where they wipe out Tech 2 to go, you're next, Doctor. Oh look, you've slowly sidestepped to the side. I'm not going to get you. I don't want to kill you anyway.
Yeah, they're not going to kill you anyway, and then you just toy with her, and but anyway, I mean, we know that one. Anyway.
Yeah,
it's not the only show that pulls that thread,
No, true.
But
with a single leap, me, he's free.
Yeah, it made no sense to me why Time would have killed off the 2 people that could possibly get it out of Dodge, even if it's not worked this time around. So that made no sense. Two, why would you, why would you give the Doctor a cryptic warning and then restore her?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
she was saying she can't keep that for. So she just left her. She would have died anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, I got a bit, and again, this just harkens back to the whole, he'll knock 4 times before the end stuff.
Yeah.
Except for this was more blatant, because it's like, I'm their master.
Or I mean, I'm thinking that maybe it's so blatant that it's a double bluff. But
yeah, I'm kind of hoping so.
But I don't know, because actually the master has been, this version master is good.
Yeah.
And he's gone down really well. So I would have thought if Chibnall can bring him back to use him, I think he will. I do think we'll see him again. So
yeah,
But
yeah, I say I get, because the thing I found it quite interesting from a long-term fan kind of perspective, because when Doctor Who was off the air in the 90s, you had like their Virgin New Adventures range, and part of the thing of that was essentially the Gallifreyans had like 2 gods in effect. One was time and one was death. And basically the Doctor sacrificed his 6th self to become Time's champion, which is why the 7th Doctor was a bit darker and was actually going around wiping out races and stuff. So Time was like the good god, and Death was like the bad one kind of thing. Right, so I found this interesting as an inversion of that, but it doesn't make sense to me in how it's been set up, and like time being basically restrained so it flows linearly, so that space can, I don't know, whatever space is doing, I don't know. And why does time hate space? I don't get it.
Yeah. It's space is just everyone else. It's just everything else.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And what happened to those little blue time mites as well that got released?
Yeah, I don't know, mate.
They weren't mentioned again, were they?
And also as well, I get the whole kind of time can take on any form and stuff, and look, it's evil Doctor, and although it did give me a sense of what Jodie could have been like if she'd taken the memories on. They could have gone down that road and it would have been good. But I would have personally, because I was quite confused by that time. Personally, I would have rathered time just be a different being.
Yeah.
I think it needed to be a different being, mainly as well because you already played that kind of dark Jodie in a different overcoat when you were doing the flashback stuff.
Yeah, and not being funny, but we've already had Jodie running around 3 times.
Yeah,
this week.
We didn't need 4. It would have been. I think that would have been, even if it had taken on the Master's appearance.
Yeah.
All
the Ruthless Doctors.
Yeah.
Anything.
Yeah. But yeah, like you said, I feel like the whole kind of the time's coming to an end and no more regeneration. I'm like, but isn't she supposed to be timeless now? I was just confused. Why she got no more regeneration?
Why she suddenly got none left? Yeah.
Yeah, I just didn't get it. Yeah,
but it's interesting, like you say. In some ways, I'm kind of seeing this episode as a bit of like the end of Mass Effect 3. In that, like you say, it's not about the destination; it's about the journey getting there.
Yeah.
And overall, the journey I have enjoyed the hell out of.
Yeah.
Yes, there have been problems with it every week, and as I said earlier, doing these podcasts, you do, like you say, you get in writer's mode and you look at it critically, or you get in reviewer's mode and you're looking at it critically. But none of them were enough to make me think, oh, this is so ludicrous, I'm never watching Doctor Who again. And I am, I'm genuinely looking forward to the New Year special, even though the trailer was a bit, thing.
I think there's a slight, which I saw, I think there's a slightly longer trailer, which looks much better.
Right.
It basically makes it look a bit like Groundhog Day. Have you seen that trailer?
No, I've literally only seen the clip that was on at the end.
Okay. Yeah. There's another trailer.
Right. Okay. Because it is, to be fair, I just kind of sighed a bit with, you've just wiped out all the Daleks, and then we've got some Daleks again on New Year for the 3rd New Year running.
Yeah.
And like I know they did like with the last 2, they kind of made it as like a follow on, so maybe this will be a 3rd follow on. It's almost like a little Dalek trilogy kind of thing. But
yeah,
I don't know. It just again, it's just immediately getting rid of that whole consequence of, yep, we just wiped out the Daleks. No, we haven't.
Yeah, I like I said, I think my episode for me, I just felt like it just showed me that it needed more breathing room.
Yeah.
Not even necessarily like less characters, but well, I'll say that, you know, if all you had to play with was the hour, then maybe I would have said actually maybe you need to trim away some of the characters quicker.
Yeah.
And maybe not have brought in some of those characters. I mean, you know, you're bringing in Kate in episode 5, and I just felt like it was a real moment to have really used Kate.
Yeah.
Like you said, in the same way like they'd used I've forgotten the name now. Martha. Yeah. And it just felt like she was just sitting in the tunnels waiting for people to rock up, you know.
Yeah.
You know, and
again, that whole thing of, you know, because there was just so little screen time between them, that thing of, oh, I think I like this regeneration, I hope to bump into it again someday. And it's like, yeah, that's great, but you've literally spent 5 minutes with them.
Yeah. And as I said, I feel like, and then, you know, we'll wrap up.
Yeah.
I feel almost like you said, they had it mapped out for like 10 episodes or something, and then for COVID hit, or whatever, look, we can only do 6 episodes, and they had to rethink stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know. And they got to that episode, it's like, how are we gonna, you know, we've got all this stuff going, and now we're gonna wrap it all up and have the Doctor, you know, in all of these parts. It's like, let's just make 3 Doctors.
Yeah.
Okay. Which on one hand, I don't have a problem with. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just, for me, it was just some of the execution of it.
Yeah, that's the thing, and it's the same. I said this in episode 1 of Real, so it's this nice full circle kind of thing to finish on. Really, I like Chris Chibnall's concepts. I don't like his execution.
Right.
And I think that's the thing. It's kind of like that all the concepts that he's been throwing at us this season have been really good. And, you know, say what you're on about the childless time thing, it was an interesting concept to throw, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right? And all those things, you know, Ashad, brilliant concept. The new version of the Master, great. You know, there's a lot of good foundations there. It's just
Jericho, great.
Jericho, great, yeah. Cavanista, great. You know, Space Bungle aside. So yeah, a lot of these ideas are really good. It's just the follow up wasn't there. You know, it was kind of like you say, it's kind of a lot of the writing felt like draft 1 writing, as you say, which is a shame, because I think given a bit more time to breathe, even if it was just splitting this up into a 2-parter, this one episode would have given you that bit of space. Get rid of the stupid, idiotic chocolate bit, and those kind of like things that just didn't add to anything. That scene did not add anything to the episode.
I don't think you needed, unless they're going to turn out to be, which is obviously what people are, you know, thinking, unless they are going to turn out to be the Doctor's parents, you could have easily have had Vinda and, was her name Belle?
Belle, yeah.
You could have had them reunited a couple of episodes ago, and they're off doing their. Do you know what I mean? Doing their thing.
They're off trying to help other parts of the universe or whatever.
You know, and then you've got more space for the other characters.
Yeah.
Which in some ways goes to show how great our Space Bungle was, because he had as much time as everyone else did, and he really shined in it.
He did shine, yeah.
But I was sad about Professor Jericho, because in my head I thought him and Claire could have, like, you know, ended up back in, I don't know, maybe 90s, and you could have had a whole kind of spin-off with them. You know, just such a shame.
He's one of those people who would have been a brilliant, like, recurring kind of character.
Yeah, he would have been.
You know, so. But yeah, on that note, I think we should probably wrap up. I'm not going to summarise, because I think we've summarised quite succinctly all the way through as we went.
Yeah,
to be honest.
Pretty much.
So I guess all that remains really is to ask our listeners what they thought. Let us know. You know, if we get enough feedback through, we might do a comments and questions kind of episode or something, potentially. You know, and get us your thoughts. What you thought of Space Bungle? Was the universe reset and we missed it? All that kind of stuff. Just let us know. Let us know what you thought. Let us know what what you made of it, and did you enjoy the journey? Did you enjoy the destination?
Yes.
Do let us know what you thought. And how can people do that?
You can get in touch with us via email, thegeeks@geeksyndicate.co.uk. There's Instagram at Geek Syndicate, there's Twitter at Geek Syndicate again, and we have our private Facebook group, which if you knock on the door, I will let you in.
Excellent. And if you want to get hold of me directly on Twitter, I am at the unfinetoothcomb.
Oh, of course.
Sorry, I'm Wedgedoc on Twitter, at Wedgedoc. We just had a case of mistaken identity last week.
Not to be confused with Dion. Right. Well, I'm sure we'll be back next week with something. We'll find something to review.
Yes. Yeah. Well, we've got that one thing that we've been talking about for a while, haven't we? So.
Yeah. So maybe
Cool.
that, something else. So, but yeah, thanks for tuning in to these reviews, and no doubt we will be back when Eve of the Dalek is on New Year's Day.
Indeed. I mean, possibly we'll be back a bit after it's aired.
Yeah, probably.
Unless we get in a bit of Groundhog Day or something. I don't know.
You never know.
Cool. Thanks for listening, everyone, and we'll see you with whatever we're talking about next.
Yep. Bye all.